Thanks, Tom, for giving me opportunity to interview you for my YouTube channel and podcast.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Nice to meet you.
So I thought to tell about you and the work that you are doing to my audience.
Sounds good.
So can you please introduce yourself
Oh,
to my
sure.
audience?
Sure. So my name is Tom Schaeffer. I'm a co-founder and CEO of a company called Float Left Interactive. We founded the company in 2009, and the company builds TV applications for media companies. So just to put it plainly, I'm sure most of your audience probably has some device that's connected to their television or a smart TV, where they can access Netflix and various other channels that are available, or TV apps. And so our company builds those apps for the media companies. And that was how we got started. We got started working with Roku. Uh, this is like mid to late 2009 when they were just getting started, and they didn't have any sort of there was no channel store, there was no way to really build any apps. But we had gotten in there because of my prior experience as an engineer at a financial company. They were starting to get into Roku, and then we got into that. I just started Float Left maybe a month before that, and we were doing basically web applications. So Float Left is a play on the Float Left CSS property for web designers out there. So that's how we came up with the name. And I've gotten asked about that a lot over the course of our existence. But anyway, and then we pivoted once Roku started to open up their development platform and allow people to put channels into that ecosystem. We were the first ones to get into that and start doing that. And then the kind of the floodgates opened, and this was really before streaming television became popular. It was really early, and there was maybe us and a handful of other independent engineers or developers working on it, but there was no company that was dedicated to doing that. And so Float Left was really the first company that I'm aware of. Maybe one other company that had been in the industry working on some other tech for these for like TV manufacturers, but we were really the first company that was doing any kind of formal development for Roku. And then Roku started, and then there was the Boxy Box, and then there was another device called the Popcorn Hour, and then those devices went away, and then it was Apple TV, the first iteration of the Apple TV, and then Google TV, and then it's just been going on and on and on, and then there's this evolution of all these different devices. But there's never been a cohesive way or a single method for developing one time and getting it to all these different devices. So the engineering challenge has always been, how do you build a consistent, think about Netflix. When you watch Netflix, whether it's on your mobile device or your smart TV or anything, you have the same experience. You know what to expect. So that's what the brands wanted from us. It's like, hey, we know that there's 12 platforms out there, but we want you guys to build something that looks the same for every single platform. And so that was the real challenge back in it still is today, actually. It's still really a difficult thing to do. So and that's why the industry in our space is unique, because there's app development, right? And if you build an app for one platform, that has its own life cycle and everything. But when you build an app for 12 platforms or 15 platforms, it becomes a whole nother animal. It becomes exponentially more complicated. So, but yeah, so that's what Flow 11, and we've been doing that for 12 years.
So you are from?
Excuse me?
You are from?
Where am I from?
Yeah.
So I am originally from Philadelphia, born and raised in Philadelphia, spent most of my life there. Went to college in Philadelphia, went to Drexel University in college. So any Philly people out there, shout out to Drexel. And then moved to Florida to pursue an aviation career that didn't really get off the ground, to use a terrible pun. I went to school. I went to a school, an aviation school for a while. Got some ratings and all that, but I never was able to. I kind of ran out of financing. I was never able to get all of the ratings that I needed to make a career out of that. And so I graduated with an information systems / computer science degree from Drexel, and then I leaned on that when the aviation career didn't pan out. I went into dove head first into my technology background and started working as a software engineer. But it all started in Philadelphia.
So before starting this company, you worked already in the tech industry for quite a long time.
I was always involved in technology. Even in high school, I was building PCs, and so that led to working as a technician at various uh, pharmaceutical companies, other types of financial industry. I was working primarily as a support technician, and then yeah, after college, I had so I was always involved in technology. That's just always my background. It started with hardware and devices and support of the hardware, and then I got into software after college. But yeah, I've always been involved in the technology industry.
So 12 years back, what made you to put your mind on whatever you are doing now?
Um, well, I would say, I think of myself first as an entrepreneur, and I didn't realize that I was an entrepreneur until I guess maybe later on in my life. But then when I started Float Left, I realized like, wow, like this is definitely something that I've always wanted to create my own company. I had admired, there was a handful of companies that I had looked up to, that I really admired their culture, and then I decided, yeah, I want to build a company like that. And so that's kind of how I got started. But yeah, I think I've always just thought of myself as an entrepreneur, and even as a kid, getting groups organized and taking initiative and getting people rallied around, whether it's primarily I did a lot of sports, organized sports and things like that when I was young. So that was really my start of it. But yeah, when I got into my professional life, I realized that there's things that I want that I wasn't getting in my jobs. And so I felt like, hey, I have an opportunity here to maybe create my own culture, my own company, and do things how I want to do things.
So what is that thought that made you to create something that is not existed before?
Well, I mean, if I'm being honest, I think we got really lucky in the early days of Flow Left because I wasn't interested so much in streaming media at the time. And it was just through my work, my existing job that I was working as a software engineer for this financial company that I kind of backed into it. There was this opportunity that came up where it was so obvious. And I realized that, that's not a common thing. And it's also not a common thing to be so early in a market that is emerging, an emerging market. Um, but yeah, I think we recognized pretty early on, like, wow, this thing with streaming and digital media is going to be huge. And but if I told you that I had this grand vision back then, and I'd be lying to you. It was more of a lot of it was being in the right place at the right time with the right people, and just recognizing the opportunity and just saying, hey, let's just go all in on this. And I've actually talked a lot about the idea, and I had no business experience, none at all. And I actually think later on that gave me an advantage, because I think if I knew what I was getting into, I think I may not have. I think I would have been a little bit more hesitant or timid, or maybe I would have thought like, hey, I need to get more information, but we were naive. We had no idea what we were doing, and we just went all in with everything. And I think that really helped us get through the challenging times, because we just didn't know what to expect. We didn't know what to be fearful of. So I think that was, but it was a combination of all those things that allowed us to start it and then accelerate through and make some things happen in the early days.
So creating application which helps the company, that the television to reach I mean television applications, the streaming applications to reach all other devices,
Yes.
mobile, all other devices. Have you ever thought that this is too tough to understand and to create?
Yes. like like every week we go through a period of time where we're saying, why did we sign up for this? It's torture sometimes. But no, but I mean, I think that that's what makes any venture worthwhile, is if it was easy, that everybody would be doing it. And so we had such a jump start on the industry back in the early days, that we felt like, well, we've got all this momentum, we can't stop now. But I for sure, I mean, there were times where I had just written about this recently, where I thought I could probably count on, maybe, I don't know, maybe a dozen times or so over the course of our existence, where I thought, man, this is it. This is the end of the road. It was a good run. Hey, it was fun while it lasted, but we're done. That's it. We're finished. And then somehow, like at the 11th hour, something happens, and we continue on. And and then you get a little bit stronger and you get a little bit better through those experiences. But absolutely had so many times of doubt of the company, my own self-doubt, my own imposter syndrome that I always suffered with. Like, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. This is not good. And I think, like, again, I think it would be, I definitely believe that, I would have been better served if I had better advisement and better guidance in the early days. But again, I think that there's something to be said about not having that, and just being so bullish and believing in and having this. And I read this other day, a really great phrase, this stupid optimism about, and I think that that's really, like, if you had to pick a superpower that an entrepreneur needs, I think it's just to have an absurd amount of optimism, and just being able to just power through the really hard times. That's the only thing that you can get. That's the only thing that you can do to power through the tough times.
So understanding the connectivity between hardware and software, how much time it took for you to understand it in different devices?
So, it's interesting. It's an ongoing process. It's never you never really land anywhere and say, okay, we've got it figured out. So, uh, you know, the industry is evolving. The streaming companies want more things. So I would say that, uh, in the early days, 2009 through maybe 2013, we were able to stay on top of it a little bit better. We were able to be a little bit more proactive. But in the last few years, the industry is moving so fast that it's really impossible for any of us, in the industry, to really be ahead of it, be ahead of the curve. So I think the best that you can do is understand where you best serve customers, and then say, okay, like in order for us to best serve customers, we don't need to know everything, but we need to know this sort of framed, sort of, um, knowledge base here that we can rely on, and have it be repeatable. If that makes any sense. So, but it's a moving target. It's never something that, like, no company really goes, oh man, yeah, we've got it now. It's always like, all right, what's next? And you keep moving.
Which means you create an application with which users from different users of different devices can use the applications in that application that you are providing very easily.
Yep. Yeah. So we build everything from the interface and the authentication methods. If you're a paying subscriber, if there's subscription, part of that, if there's a subscription service as part of that, we build that as well. We work with other companies to bring some of that technology together. Um, but yeah, we work really hard to make sure that the user experience. I mean, I guess if I had to categorize where we spend the most time, it would be in the user experience or the customer experience. So making sure that they have an easy way of finding the service, because there's now just almost like endless numbers of streaming services out there. So we work with the companies to make sure that they can be found and discovered fairly easily. That when customers log in and start to watch, that they can do that very easily. And navigating and finding the content and searching for content, working with other companies to provide accurate and timely recommendations for them while they're looking for something to watch. It's all part of it, you know. So we spend a lot of time on that.
So in this 12 years, what do you understand about the user experiences that you hear?
Well, I mean, I think it goes for I think it goes without saying that you know people's patience is very limited nowadays. Everything's moving so fast. So anything to do with getting a person to the content that they want to watch as quickly as possible is the most important thing. And what's interesting and somewhat ironic about what we're doing is, we spend a lot of time on, again, the user experience and the interface, but the best interface is really the one that is the least in your face. And I think sometimes brands get caught up in, we have to have this all these bells and whistles and this fancy user interface, but what's actually happening is they're creating a lot of barriers to getting someone from point A to point B as quickly as possible. And so, as obviously the app has to be beautiful in terms of how it looks. The animations, if you're going to have animations, make them be smooth. You want to have a low latency. You don't want to be sitting and waiting for a spinner to load and then finish so you can get your content. But so all that comes into play. And accurate thumbnails, even like just the thumbnails themselves, there's so much thought and attention that goes into, is this a thumbnail? Like, if somebody's looking at this thumbnail, is this an accurate representation of what the show or the movie is? Things like that. Like, there's so many things that you don't think about, that all factor into the overall experience. But again, the bottom line is that, if you can do that with the least amount of steps, and barriers to getting to the content, that's what everybody needs. That's the big win.
Do all the applications that are there in your application have the same way of uh, doing things?
Great question. So when we started, we were primarily a what we call professional services business. In other words, a company could come to us and say, "Hey, we've got this grand vision of this thing that we want you to build for us. Can you go build it?" And we would go and do that within this environment, of course. But as the business started to mature and the industry started to mature, we realized, like, okay, we need some sort of a, uh, call it a Netflix in a box kind of solution, right? So it's going to have, I wouldn't even call it limitations. It has parameters, it has boundaries around it. In other words, like, rather than spending 6 months on building something, we can deliver something in 30 days to a client. But they are going to have to adhere to a template, more of a template approach to that. And we developed a product called Flycast a few years ago that serves that demand. So to answer your question, it didn't always start that way, but it evolved into a product offering that had very defined features and a look and feel and everything to it.
So how many users you have?
Oh man, across we've deployed hundreds of applications over the years. Some of those have been migrated into other brands, but I mean, I would say millions. I mean, tens of millions of users using, possibly even more than that, using our applications out there.
So have you ever felt very tough, because a lot of people, when you started, it was zero. You don't have a business experience. Now the thought that you implemented reached everywhere, and you're being the owner of that creation.
I think I understand the question. Can you rephrase it for me? I'm not sure I'm
Um,
following.
before coming into this, before starting the
Mm,
business, you have no business experience.
right.
Now after starting it, it reached everywhere. Your thought reached everywhere,
Mm.
and you made things possible. So, how is this feeling?
Oh, that's a great question too. It's amazing. It's the greatest experience I've ever had in my life, other than, my children being born, maybe being married. It's having a family, I should say. It's the greatest thing could ever experience. It's so rewarding. And, if you think about people that are creators, if you think about someone who's a creative person, I think that building a company is the greatest form of creative expression that you can have. It's just the canvas is huge, and there's different dimensions to the canvas, um, when you're building it. But yeah, it is the greatest experience of my life. Yeah. And you know what? No, I mean, I can say that now as the business has been successful. But I think even in the darkest times, I knew that we were doing things that were hard, and it it still felt good that we were kind of going through that. I mean, it doesn't always have to be like rainbows and unicorns and celebrating all the time. I mean, even in the hard times, that you know that you're growing, that you're learning, that you're getting better, and you just feel like, okay, now after that terrible experience that we've just had, I can take all of that energy and focus into us being better for the next quarter or the next year or whatever. So the whole thing, certainly the wins, but even the losses that we've had, and there's been a lot of those. I wrote about this recently, where there's been so many failures, so many pivots over 12 years, just hitting a wall and going, well, that didn't work. Okay, and let's just move on and try something else. And then finally you figure things out. And even in that process, I feel like it's so gratifying to have gone through it and have then become better out of that.
So, what do you understand, the connection between technology and business?
I would say that any company that exists today needs to be a technology business at the end of the day. It's a Every company needs to be technology enabled. If you're not a technology company, I mean, I would certainly say, like, in the streaming space, for sure, all the companies that are producing content and going straight to the consumer on these devices are technology companies. They're technology companies, sort of, concealed by the media, but everything that they do is driven by technology. And so it's essential, it's critical.
So, how many countries are using your app?
Well, so we're primarily based. All the media companies that we service are primarily in the U.S., but we do have a lot of not a lot. We have a good chunk of our businesses international, European companies that are using our service. Actually, in India, we had, especially years ago, we were doing a lot of services that were providing Bollywood content, and we were doing that a lot, actually. So there's a fair amount now that are using our services.
So, before 12 years, with how many devices you started, and today, how many devices you went?
So another great question. Yeah, so we started with one device, one model, one device on the Roku, and then it's if you count. So there's the way that we look at it is there's device classes, like you have, again, Roku, Apple, Amazon Fire TV, smart TVs, mobile devices. But within that class of device, you have, I mean, there's dozens of different models potentially that we support. Now, with our product, we've limited the number of versions, just because, we're not going to go and service devices from 5, 6, 7 years ago that no one has. But yeah, I mean, the amount of permutations that you can have, it's, I mean, 30s and 40s, I mean, in the 50s, probably, the number of actual devices and the variances that are getting software delivered to it or getting an app deployed on it. But again, it's not like we have to do 50 of those, but we'll build maybe one or two versions of an app, and then that will get deployed on a variety of different models. But it still is really a challenge because, I mean, testing, quality assurance testing, which we do ourselves, is very, very time consuming, and troubleshooting those issues when you have a specific problem on one model only of a device makes it really, really hard to try to figure that out, like what could be causing that issue. So even though, the build is maybe it's one build for 8 different models, device models, you're still doing a lot of quality assurance testing on each of those, and problems can come up there that have to get fixed before they get deployed. So it's definitely a tricky business.
So hiring people, what they need to have in order to uh, do for giving the quality service to the users.
So you're talking about for future employees? Yeah. So I mean, the bulk of our team is made up of, I mean, software engineers and project managers, operational type folks. And for, I mean, anybody right now that has any exposure to what we call, again, OTT or connected TV is gold. I mean, they're just highly valuable folks right now. I would say that just a strong background in, I think it's hard for junior people to come in, and it's just the potential learning curve is challenging, and there's a reason for that. But like for Float Left, what we've done is created an architecture so that it's easier for newer engineers that don't have a ton of experience to come in and get up to speed fairly quickly. But I think like any good solid computer science or technology degree, I don't think a degree is required, but I think it helps to give you just sort of a broader scope of the technology that we're working with, and just really good foundational programming and engineering principles. So like anybody that comes in with like a C++ or a Java background from an onboarding perspective, those folks tend to adapt really well. And because what I'm getting at is everybody has to learn something new. Like there's very few situations where these engineers or other folks are coming in from another environment and are just able to just hit the ground running. Everybody needs some time to get adapted to the environment, how to build apps for these devices, the nuances of each device, like something that you could do on the web you can't do on a device. There's limitations. And so learning all that takes some time, but I mean, it's really just about someone's willingness to learn. As long as they have a good foundation, if you're hungry and wanting to learn, I think they'll do fine.
So how many applications are there in your app?
How many apps have we pushed out over the
Yes. Yeah.
It's gosh, we've we've actually tried to figure this out. So there's apps that are like live in market. Over the years since the beginning, it's hundreds, probably a few hundred. And then there's like we've done a lot of apps that aren't like live public but are being used for other purposes. Some of them are just test channels or so. But I mean, I would say in total, I mean, it would have to be hundreds of TV apps out there. Yeah.
So also another question is connecting with your app. All these applications have a different way of reacting and different way of uh, uh, making things because different
Yeah.
people from different countries will use in different times and different time zones. It's very tough for you to analyze, understand how it's going on, and you are using those apps in your application. So how good you are in connecting those apps with your application?
I mean, it's an extremely accurate point that you just made. I mean, then that it's ultimately what makes it really difficult is, again, it's not just the devices and the number of models, but it's like where are you in the world? How are you using it? What's your internet service like? Um, I mean, there's so many problems potentially. So I think ultimately what happens is there's just there's no substitute for if I were giving someone some feedback about getting into a business like this, I think they just need time to experience those things and then build that into your architecture. So in our code, we have we have um, we have ways of handling, again, where you are. We do know where the device lives, and again, and by the way, certain devices have certain capabilities. Maybe one has less hardware or less power than another device, and so maybe on one platform we can't show all the pretty background images. Maybe we have to suppress that for a different device. And yeah, and again, environment comes into play. I think it's just about the experience of, like, we've done this enough times where we know that if you're in this location, okay, these things are going to be a factor. So when we go through our testing process, there's our base foundation of things that we're looking for to test for, but then there's also like location specific or environmental specific things that could create problems that we also try to test for as well.
So different devices have different prices, and different people uses different devices. So you are pushing your apps into those devices. So so you are trying to make all the level people, like from poor to rich, uh, they're gonna use these applications through all these devices. So it's
Hmm.
giving the same level of feeling or expression uh, through all these devices. Is that not a very tough job? It's a very big challenge for you.
It's extremely difficult. Yeah. Um, yeah, I think that what makes this industry so interesting is that it is, I don't want to say it's decentralizing. It's not doing that, but it's making content more accessible. And in some ways, I think that's really important. It's giving the control back to the service provider, as opposed to in the old days, or now the slowly going away days of, like, the cable operators. I mean, listen, they have a hell of a business still. There's a lot going on there, but the independent, like the Netflixes, control the ecosystem. They understand their customers. They know what they're interested. They know when they watch, and what they watch, and so they're able to provide very specific types of benefits, and they're able to target customers easier to give them what they want. Um, but yeah, I think, I don't know if I really answered your question, but I think that everybody, it's a wonderful time to be in this business, because, again, like you said, I mean, there's all different walks of life, all different types of social, and economics classes out there, and everybody has access to this now. You could make arguments about, like, services are too expensive and how many services, but in the old days, you either signed up for this service that had all these channels that maybe you only want one of those channels. Well, now with connected TV and OTT, you can just pick and choose what you want to watch, and you can pick and choose a service provider. If this service provider doesn't have content that you want to watch, then you don't have to consume it as part of a package. And I think that's been really interesting. And by the way, I would also say that what's the big trend right now, which is happening, which is called, it's the acronym is FAST. They're called FAST channels, and it stands for free ad supported streaming television. And so, like, Pluto TV and Roku TV, and I'm trying to think of a few others. There's a handful of them out there that provide free television. They're ad supported, but so if you went out and bought a Roku device for $30, or any device, pick a device that you like, go out and buy one of those devices, install Pluto TV or another fast channel provider, and you can get access to, an n number of different types of channels. And because of the fact that it's on a digital platform like that, it's not limited. So these like a Pluto, I'll use Pluto TV as an example. There's no cap theoretically to how many channels that they could put into that service. So there's content for everybody. It's free, and it's been the barriers of entry in terms of, to your point, cost maybe, or access to high speed internet, or even just cable services. As long as people have internet, and they can get these devices, they can get access to the content now.
So how fast you are in understanding the connectivity between software and hardware for different devices?
Well, so again, I mean, we don't dig too deep into the weeds. We work very closely with the manufacturers. So when we run into problems, or, and by the way, most of these companies will provide what's called an SDK, or an ADK, which is it's for developers. It's for developers to utilize. And when you're building with it, you are building within the parameters of the hardware. But if we do run into issues, we have folks on their side that we contact, and we work together to resolve issues. And so, between those two things, we can tend to get most of the issues resolved. We don't really get too deep into the hardware on our side. Our job is to take what the tools that these companies are providing us, that we know have been tested and that work on the existing hardware, and build the apps, for it. But one of the things that I'll say is, like, with smart TVs specifically, like your Samsung Tizen and your LG and your Vizios. Sometimes those, there's, even within smart TVs, there's no consistency, right? Like, each one of the smart independent smart TV manufacturers have their own process of development. They have their own environments. Like, there's no standardization anywhere. But a lot of times, like, the players that we use to actually, like, when you click play and you start watching the video, a lot of time those players will have different issues depending on, what you're trying to do and where you are in the world, to your point earlier. And so that can be difficult. So that's a lot of times where, like, if I'm just trying to think of one thing that always requires us to get on a phone with a manufacturer, it's usually when we're, like, trying to play video, or maybe what we're doing is, if we're doing digital rights management or protecting the content, from just being watched when they're not supposed to be watching it. That's a big thing nowadays. A lot of times that stuff tends to be more difficult to integrate, and so we have to get on with, and work with the companies to figure that stuff out. But most of the time, it's as long as it's part of their SDKs, we're in good shape.
So do other apps approach you, or you approach other apps?
Well, our service providers will generally reach out to us, and I should also say that when we create relationships with the manufacturers, generally speaking, the media companies that want to get on those platforms will contact them first, and they'll say, "Hey, Samsung, we want to, we've got this great library of content. We want to be on your platform. Who do we use to build the app itself?" And they have, like, kind of an internal short list of companies that they'll work with. And so that's generally how we'll get connected with these companies. Is we're we call it, like, just being a preferred developer, for these companies that will, it'll be a lot of referrals, in terms of how we actually get engaged with the customer.
India is one of the biggest content creating country in the world. So how is this connect? How is your connection with this?
With what? I'm sorry, say that again.
India is one of the
Oh,
most and the toppest top content creating country in the world.
yes.
So how is your connection with this?
Yeah, so again, we've worked with a handful of Indian-based content companies, over the years, and it's been awesome. I mean, yeah, they are. There's India is incredible. incredible talent, very well produced content. And so all of the services that we've introduced into the U.S. market, that were primarily Indian-based content providers, have done really, really well. All of the expats in the U.S. that are, born and raised in India but have relocated to the U.S. There's a lot of that, so those folks are adopting those services, and it's yeah, those brands do really well.
So before 12 years, internet was not this wider. Today, it reached everywhere. Today, the content creating apps reached everywhere in the planet. Almost everybody is using. Out of 10, 8 to 7 people are using, having their own devices, watching it from anywhere, sitting in the car, bike, bus. So uh, giving that user experience, the best experience, and making them feel satisfied, and uh, working very hard. And it's really very, very tough for you to be consistent and to give the quality service. How you managed it?
So when you get enough of a pool of customers that are servicing that are creating that have a service that's being distributed to enough devices in enough locations, patterns start to emerge of what are the things that work really, really well. It doesn't matter about what type of content that you have or anything else. Like you can really strip it down to say there's a handful of things that all services need to do really well, and load quickly, find, again, easy to navigate, all that type of stuff. And so it really just comes from being in the trenches, learning, working with the customers. Each of our customers and our clients have teams that do tons of research on this to figure out, what are the best features based on the type of content that we have and where we're delivering this content. What are the best features for our audience? And so again, like, we collect all this information from all of our customers, and we look for the patterns. And that's all that information has been funneled into our product offering. So you could look at it and go, everything that's in here theoretically should work really well for all of our customers, wherever they are, whatever device, and for any type of audience. So it's really just about having the data and finding the patterns, and then pushing that into your product offering, and then just making sure that all those points are hit. So.
Have you worked with Starlink?
Starlink?
Yeah.
We have not worked directly with them. Perhaps indirectly with one of their. Is that an MVPD or a cable provider, or a satellite
It's an
company?
internet,
Oh, internet.
ISP, internet service
ISP.
provider.
Yeah, no, I don't have any experience with them directly that I know of.
So which application is are doing well?
Um, Gosh, that's a great question. It's when you say well, it really depends on how the services are being utilized. So some companies use OTT services as a complementary offering to, maybe they're still being distributed on cable services, or cable networks, but they use OTT as kind of a place where they put maybe like a different type of content, or they have exclusive content on the devices, on the app. And then in other cases, we have brands that are, really just like going to market with this as the only thing that they're doing, and it's their only aspect of their business model. And we have those types of companies all over the place. We also work with a lot of like faith-based service providers. So they just want all their, when you say, are you doing well, when all they care about is making sure that the congregation, all their members, get access to maybe the services on Sunday or something like that. So it really depends on what the goals of the business are, and they're very broad. But I would say that the brands that are just looking to, bring a great library of content to the market and monetize it through advertising and or subscription services are doing extremely well. Um, Crackle TV is a brand that we had worked with in the past. We had worked with NBC Sports. Um, all these brands have done extremely well in OTT. We've done even music channels. So there's a service provider called Tidal Music in the U.S. that has we've developed applications for. Um, a lot of the big, but we did all of the Viacom, like the Comedy Central, the Nickelodeon channels, all that stuff in the U.S. and those brands have done extremely well on OTT over the years.
So what next? What you're going to do next?
Well, so my time at Float Left is slowly coming to an end. So I think it's probably appropriate to end with that. I will be exiting the company at the end of the month because what's happened is, and I should just say, in 2019, Float Left was acquired, and the business, the company that acquired Float Left is called iMedia Brands. iMedia Brands is now creating what's called iMedia Digital Services, and so that unit is now taking the Float Left brand and technology, infusing it into a whole different type of, still OTT, still going to be focused on OTT, but going to be doing a lot of really interesting things with retail data and other types of analytics information. But again, to be clear, Float Left will persist even without me. But it's been a hell of a journey for me. So for me, what's next is I'm building a consulting business. I'm working with entrepreneurs, helping them become better, helping them build better brands. Focused really right now on solopreneurs, trying to help them get businesses established and working just more as a mentor, a strategic coach. And I'm really excited about all that. I learned a lot from working at Float Left for all these years and learning on my own of how to be an executive, how to be a CEO, and how to be a good leader. So I'm really trying to funnel all that into helping the next group of entrepreneurs that are coming up.
So you started it?
February 1st, I will be officially out in the marketplace, promoting and doing all that. But right now I'm just finalizing a few things, trying to figure out exactly who my target audience is and getting my branding done and all of that. Learning LinkedIn. We got connected through LinkedIn. So really trying to figure out the ins and outs and the intricacies of that platform. It's been really great. But it's what's really cool for me and exciting is the stuff that I'm doing. Like I'm building my own business for myself. So I'm kind of now a solopreneur. I'm becoming a solopreneur. So I'm really excited about taking everything that I'm learning from my own journey and funneling that into LinkedIn and then building an audience that way and saying, hey guys, like I'm doing all this work. I'm trying to figure these things out. And again, feeding that back to people that are behind me, just like other people ahead of me that I'm following that I really admire and think are doing a great job. So it's like I'm kind of like on a similar journey that my customers would be potentially, or my clients would be. So it's really exciting.
So how many mediums are you're going to use it in order to give this service, and what are those services?
So right now, I mean, the basic, the handfuls of services right now is essentially going to just be coaching, and just some sort of strategic consulting service, right? So, and also there's going to be an element of personal branding in that as well. So helping a solopreneur, I kind of not crazy about that term. I think, there are entrepreneurs, but one person entrepreneurs or one person businesses that, have a great idea, have a passionate founder, somebody's really excited about things, but just need to kind of get out of their own head, just need to understand, okay, like let's take this great idea and let's just kind of go through this process of getting it on paper. What's your strategy? Just giving them tips and helpful guidance to help them kind of craft their message, their narrative. Who are they as a person, and ultimately as a brand? Why would anybody want to listen to this person, right? So helping them get established in who they are and who they want to present to the world, and then really just come up with some strategy around like for things like process, automation, how to help them scale, how to help them really work through a lot of the really difficult things, how to come up with content marketing, and how to work LinkedIn, and all of these things that they're going to need to know. So that's really what I'll be doing in the beginning with most people.
I'm sure your experience to them, the new entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs, who are going to start the business, are listening to you, understanding and taking your advices and
Hmm.
implementing it in their own business. I'm sure they're going to create a lot of wealth because you have seen the great things already.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, I have a lot of experience. I've made a lot of mistakes, which gives me just more data to share with people. And like I said, I'm just really passionate. I've always felt like, gosh, I wish I had a mentor. I wish I had an advisor. I think back in the beginning of my early days, if I had that coach, that person that I could just bounce ideas off of and just get feedback from, the path would have been still difficult, but not as painful. And I feel like it's almost a responsibility of mine now to take everything that I've learned and really try to apply it to help other people. So that's really my goal.
So this episode will be played on even on the podcast and different platforms. Can you tell your brand name? You still didn't fix any brand name or any. You want to announce it officially on February 1st, but uh, if it plays on podcast, they can reach their your links
Yeah,
and stuff.
so the website will be thomasschaeffer.co. Is the website. Company name, the company is actually called Thomas Schaeffer and Company. And I think whether I'll create another brand from that or not, but I feel like that is probably just going to be. And I've gotten a lot of feedback on that, like, no, you cannot name your company Thomas Schaeffer and Company. It's like, well, listen, naming things is really hard, and I don't have a lot of time, and what the heck, like, 2022 was the year where we just say screw it, we're just going to do it. And so that's what the company name is as of today. But the website will be thomasschaeffer.co, and I'll have a very simple, brief description of all the services and a form that people can reach out to me and contact me if they think that there's something that I can help them with. So
You want to give service to all the country people.
yes, for sure. Um, I say that now. Maybe that'll change in the future, depending on scheduling and everything. But I mean, at this point, I want to get in front of as many people as possible. And if there's someone in another part of the world that needs some help, and I can give it to them, I would love to figure that out and how to work with them.
Can you spell your website?
Sure, Thomas, Thomas, S is Schaeffer. So Thomas, SCHAEFFER.co. ThomasSchaeffer.co.
Awesome. I'm sure in the next business of yours, you're growing. You will create more impact than, with the experience that you already have, and also like it's an inspiration for a lot of people who will be watching and listening to our conversation because you started as an engineer and you studied in a college and you came step by step without any business experience. You went very far. You saw everything. The work that you did reached millions of people. So that's a great achievement for any human being. So I'm sure that in the next business that you are going to start is going to do more than what you did before,
Mm.
and with the understanding that you have with the software and hardware, and I'm sure the team that you hire or the people who comes with you will add value and make you reach more than what you reached before.
So that was a very, very nice thing to say. I appreciate that. Yeah, I really do. It was a pleasure meeting you. And I think you're a heck of an interviewer. I got to be honest. Like, I don't know how you were asking these questions. Really, really great job. It was a pleasure to meet you, and I thank you for your time. Yeah.
So I want your observation. You saw a lot of content with your eyes in your experience and all the platforms that you worked that you saw. So what do you say about my videos? Have you seen any videos of mine?
If I'm being honest, I just started to get into it. I think you definitely have the thumbnail figured out. I started watching a couple I started watching a couple of those interviews, and I think you got a really great thing going on here. I think you just need to. And how long have you been doing this?
From uh, uh, from last 1 year after COVID,
Okay.
when COVID started, I started doing this.
And so you can relate to how much you're learning as this process is going forward. I think you got a great thing going on here, and I think you're just going to keep getting better. But I think from what I've seen already, I think it's great. It's a very casual kind of conversation, and I think the format is great, and I think you're doing a great job. Just keep
Uh,
doing
I
it,
did
man.
I did masters in software engineering, and
Okay.
I did a graduate bachelor's in computer science and engineering, and I also trained as cloud engineer, AWS cloud engineer, and uh, I just wanted to understand what the great experts like you who are already in the IT industry. I didn't work in IT. I want to work. I want to understand what exactly how things works in the industry, how people in the industry are thinking. So if you saw my interviews on YouTube, I did more than 450 plus interviews in last 300 days, 300 or 350 days. Like every day, 3 to 4 interviews. All are extremely influential people, experienced, and their experiences will directly create impact on the newcomers or people. I got a lot of subscribers very fast, and uh, I reached very fast. I have a lot of interviews coming in next
That's
days
great.
also. So I
That's
never
great.
thought this, but I got success very fast because of this.
I know you've got some heavy hitter technologists on your podcast or your video cast. Really cool. And I mean, yeah, it's great. And I think like this is an area where you don't have access to a lot of these people. And it's just the folks that are kind of doing the thing each day, and you're hearing it directly from them, the challenges that they're facing. I think that that's incredibly valuable, especially for people like you said that are trying to get their start in the industry somewhere and can kind of hear it directly from the experts. I think is awesome. So keep it up, man. Doing a heck of a job. Yeah.
So thank you,
And
Tom.
by the way, it's what time is it for you now? Is it like what 6, 7 o'clock or something?
It's 9:20 p.m. in South India. I live in Hyderabad city.
Okay. Well, thanks for staying up late, and sorry about the weird snafu that we had with our calendar getting this thing set up. I don't know how that happened, but anyway. I
It's
I, I was
valuable.
I happened to be up at like I happened to be up really late for some reason. I don't know why, but I was doing some work and I saw the notification come in that you and I had a call in a half an hour, and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning or something. I'm like, I don't know. I think we got this thing screwed up here, but I'm glad we got it worked out.
So it's a great opportunity for me to know you and the work that you are doing, and also telling about the work that you did and the experiences that you had. Definitely, it will help a lot of people, and also it will help the newcomers who wants to start their business. Not only from US, there will be a lot of people who will be watching this and listening to our conversation from India or from any country. I have universe. I mean, from people from all other countries. I'm sure they will listen to you, and definitely your advices, your valuable advices will help them in growing their business.
Oh, that's great. I mean, that's why I wanted to do this. So I hope I can yeah, help anybody out there in any way.
Can I put this video on my YouTube channel with your permission?
Of course. Yep.
Uh, Can I also put this audio and video clip on my podcast, website, internet, social media, everywhere with your permission?
Yep.
So thank you, Tom. Keep going, keep doing what you love.
Same here, and same to you. Thank you, Sai. It was great to speak with you.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.